Hi everyone, I'm Ananya Mariam Rajesh, the Associate Sub Editor at Fibre2Fashion, and we have with us today Rahul Mehta, the Chief Mentor at CMAI. So thank you for joining us today. One of the first and key topics that's being discussed in the industry today is the China plus one sourcing strategy. And where do you think is India setting itself apart when Vietnam and Bangladesh are like way ahead in the same race?
So actually, if I can be quite blunt, the China plus one topic is almost dead now because it was there for several years. And I think we did not take the full advantage of the opportunity that was provided. The international buyers were keen to not substitute China, but at least add another sourcing uh, country. But we just couldn't provide the kind of volumes and the kind of scale that the international buyers were looking for. And therefore, whilst we did get some benefit, you can see that for the last 5 years, our exports of apparel at least has not gone beyond 14.5 to $16 billion. So it means that we didn't really take advantage. I think the other competing nations like Bangladesh, Vietnam, etc., have taken much greater advantage. And one of the factors was that India, as a foreign policy, were not very keen to get Chinese investment, whereas countries like Bangladesh and Vietnam were far more open to get Chinese investment. And therefore, whilst on paper it was China plus one, in fact, the buyers were still dealing with the same suppliers of China, but from Vietnam or from Bangladesh. So that's my take on the China plus one.
So when you say, sir, we've kind of lost the opportunity, but the topic is still relevant because of, say, tariffs or trade wars. And say Bangladesh is definitely witnessing a stronger surge because they have an FTA with the US right now. Where do you think is probably India fitting in here, or is there a workaround that India can have? Because our textile boom has actually happened in the recent years.
Well, I can say this that we are actually at a crossroad.
Hmm.
I don't think in the recent past we have had an opportunity as great as what we are likely to face now. With the FTAs, with UK, UAE, Australia, New Zealand already in the pocket, with the biggest FTA of them all with EU likely to happen now any day. Talks with the US are continuing. So obviously, we are having a massive opportunity to expand our textile and apparel industry and exports to these countries. Again, I would say, are we prepared to take the opportunity by its hand and actually take advantage of it? I am not so sure. I'm not talking derogatory terms. I'm not talking negative. But apart from the tariffs and apart from the price, which obviously we will benefit with the FTA, there are also other requirements which the buyers would need if they want to shift their sourcing in a big way to India. The compliances, the requirements, the labor laws, the quality requirements. Now, all these, the scale,
Yeah.
all these are very much required or as much required as just the price. So, whilst we will be at a lesser disadvantage or at an advantage now with the FTAs, we still have to cover a lot of ground to keep the other supply issues in mind. So, how far we will be able to take advantage of these FTAs is a question that only the industry can answer.
And so when you mention compliances, because that's becoming the norm today, you have sustainability, traceability, and you have EU's DPP, extended productive responsibility, also coming into place. Like you said, EU is opening up a big opportunity for us with the FTA. How are we placed when that opportunity opens? And then there is also the compliance requirements of DPP and EPR.
I would say it's going to be a challenging task. Uh, there is no doubt that any industry, not just the apparel industry or textile industry, any industry going forward, I think will require to keep the environment, the sustainability, the circularity, etc., in mind whilst planning their future. So that is a no-brainer. How quickly and to what extent we can come up to the expectations is another matter. Because, it's difficult to go from 0 to 100 in a very short time. Uh, and also is the question that some of us are asking as to whether these requirements or compliances, sustainability, and so on, uh, are genuine concerns of the Western world, or in a way, they are trying to protect their own markets and their own interests. It's a debatable point. I am not saying it is absolutely true, but there could be a percentage of involved in that. So we will have to sort of face a lot of challenges, and particularly because our industry, both textile as well as apparel, is an extremely fragmented industry. So if you have 100 players, you can perhaps enforce your systems, your requirements, your rules uh, to these 100 players. But when you have 100,000 players in the industry, it becomes that much more difficult. Today, for example, an apparel exporter, a manufacturer who buys from the textile mills will certainly be able to have a sense of traceability going right up to the farm. Whether the small exporter, which still forms 80% of our exports, we must remember, who buy from the traders, will find it that much more difficult to enforce the traceability requirement because the trader himself does not know for sure as to from which mill or which lot, forget which farm the fabric is coming from. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be challenging, but I guess we don't have an option. Somewhere along the line, somewhere in some point of time, we will have to get more and more involved in this.
Got it. And so, like you mentioned, right, it's traceability till the roots from where it begins. Do you think in the next shift that we are saying, would India still remain a big manufacturing hub? Or do you think there's a shift to becoming, say, a global fashion country?
I personally feel it will be easier for India to remain a manufacturing hub because that's what we have been over the last several decades. But in my opinion, I don't think that is the right strategy. I think the time has come when India needs to become a design center. India needs to become a branding source rather than merely a manufacturing hub. Because see, the manufacturing of apparel in particular is a very cost-driven exercise. Uh, and India and Indians are growing in economy, they are growing in their aspirations, and they are rising in their income levels. And all this is something which is making India a little less competitive when it is only related to price or cost. So somebody will always may find it easier to beat India on cost, and which will make it that much more difficult for India to become a manufacturing hub. We have a lot of advantages. The whole supply chain from cotton onwards is available here. Our MMF policies are becoming far more flexible and far more easier for us. Uh, but it will be an cost-driven exercise to remain a manufacturing hub. So I feel that we should be going in for branding and designing as our core strength. In fact, that's what we've been discussing in Bharat Tex 9 for the last several sessions. How do Indians, or how does India change from a manufacturing hub to a branding hub? And I think, again, it's going to take time. It's going to be difficult. but we have to try for it.
My question was going to be, how long do you think that timeline would be?
Timeline is difficult to define because an Aditya Birla or an Arvind can do it much faster than Rahul Mehta. But still, uh, I think I would say between uh, 8 to 10 years is something that we will need to become a source of brands rather than.
So when we talk about all these things, another concerns that's been coming up is the US tariffs for sure. And one of it has been on the US section 301, where it's different ways of, probably tariffing us. But how do you think India is preparing for that? We have been put on tier 2 category, and there's a lot of concerns regarding the exports that we send. And
See, if I can be blunt again, it's difficult to prepare for a system which changes every morning and evening. So I don't know how we can prepare, but all I can say is that hopefully the American policies will become a little more stable. And once they do become stable, once we know whether we are facing a 10% tariff or a 100% tariff or 500% tariff, I think then it'll be easier for us to prepare. Till that time, it's business as you can get it. Uh, do what's available to you at this point of time and try and survive.
understand. My last question is going to be about something about the future, which is already in existence, like AI and automation. And how do you think is going to be, India's growth in that sector? Because AI, automation are becoming a bigger part of our, needs. So,
So let's put it this way: AI is coming to the world, and you cannot avoid that. But you are talking to an old man whose cynicism will always remain. So I personally believe that AI can take you up to a certain point.
yeah,
Ultimately, it will be the human mind and the human hand which will direct AI to do what it does. But I think if industry needs to grow, I would say if industry needs to survive, we will have to accept technology. We will have to accept AI and try and make maximum use of these tools that are now available.
got it. Thank you so much, sir. Lovely chatting with you. And I hope you have a good day. Bye.